I'm Megan Bennett.
I'm Lesley Meyer.
And this is Gen X Women Are Sick of This Shit.
Who's in charge here?
You are. You be in charge.
Mistake number one. We are rolling. Rolling.
Get them doggies rolling.
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 Oh, wait. Yeah, there were some other words in there.
Get them up.
They?
Shoot them up.
Get them out.
Smack them down.
Roll. I like to imagine that on Rawhide, that was the show, right?
Yeah.
That they were smacking him down.
Smack them down.
Gonna give him a smack down on the OK Corral.
Shoot them up, smack them down. Rawhide. Rawhide.
There we go. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Lesley. How the heck are you?
I'm just great. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Here we are, recording a pod episode
On
on
a
a
Monday.
Monday. It's a different kind of life we're living right now.
Yep. I'm cool with it.
Dancing Queen.
Dancing Queen. Yeah, we couldn't do this weekend. We had stuff going on.
Yeah. Fall is full.
Fall is full.
Fall is very busy. The seasonal things. It pretty much is busy now through St. Patrick's Day for me.
That's a long time.
Mostly because of the planning stuff.
Yeah.
For the same, for
the whiskey stuff.
the big party.
And then we have a big party in town next week. Not this weekend, but next
weekend. Yes.
The big
this
holiday
is very
Halloween
Indianapolis East Side specific.
Yep.
In the lovely community of Irvington. I guess we could give that some
a little love. Well, it's funny because we have Irvington here, and then there's Irvington in New York.
Yes.
Which is a big deal. And then I was chatting with somebody in the Facebook group who lives in Salem.
Oh.
And they were talking about all the cool shit happening in Salem this
Hell
time of
yeah.
year. You can't get near it. I'm sure they book out all the hotels.
Absolutely.
Just
It's
eons in advance.
just like going to Brown County, Indiana for the leaves in the fall, Megan.
Just like it.
Exactly like
Except
it.
with witches.
We're going to go stay in a nice cabin and drive through the park and look at the leaves.
Look at some ducks on sticks. Go buy ourselves some tchotchkes. Ducks on sticks.
So we're home to the Irvington Halloween Festival, which is in its
Yeah,
whole lot of
100th
and it's like 78 or 87 or
200 years old.
It's been here for a long time.
My mom talks about going when she was a kid.
Oh my goodness!
Because she went to the high school
that
was right over here, and
oh, cool.
My dad and everybody, my whole family was from this side of town.
Hang out when they were.
And they painted windows back then too. So
oh yeah, the window painting has been going on for a long time.
Yeah. So dear listener.
I was like
reader, dear listener. We have this is a big Halloween festival. They close down a major street. Mm-hmm. There are tens of thousands of people show up. If the weather's great,
70 to
it's amazing.
80,000 people come.
Yeah,
for a one-day festival.
Bonkers. And then all of the stores along the street let little kids paint Halloween type things on the windows. Mm-hmm. So it's super fun. There's a big costume contests and music and all things haunted. And there are ghost tours.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So
yes.
fun. Have you done
Irvington, that? I have never done it.
You and producer Tim need to go on the ghost tour. It is fun.
Is it fun?
Oh yeah.
I always see those people walking and I think that looks so cold.
It is cold, but it's super spooky and fun.
We should do it. I've lived here for 20
Let's
years.
double date.
I've never done it. That would be so fun.
We'll double date and do it.
We can spook each other up.
Yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I love it.
So we're talking about why we're recording on a Monday. I was trying to pull the thread back to why we got off on the Halloween festival. We're recording on a Monday because we're busy, and that's why we're here right now. Yeah. That was pretty much all of that.
And Monday. And this is a nice way to have a Monday.
It is a nice way to have a Monday. We're here
Monday
together,
sucks less.
which is nice. You had an exciting night out last night. Let's talk about some bullshit and hot goss. AKA who died this week. But also, you did something fun last night.
I did. I went to see the Psychedelic Furs and the Jesus and Mary Chain. And they were all spectacular.
They were psychedelic and chained.
Yes, they were unchained and psychedelic.
Unchained.
They were off the chain. I've been a huge Jesus and Mary Chain fan for a long time. They played a lot of old stuff, so it was really great. And then the Furs, Richard Butler is just so fun to watch, and he's still
awesome.
Still flamboyant and fun and just generous with the audience. Yeah,
that's great.
Really good. Everybody sounded great, and it was a good show.
Fun. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you went.
So I guess if you're out there and they come to your town, do not hesitate. It is a great show.
And you met a member?
No,
admin from something else.
Yeah, my husband was very anxious to get some food afterwards, so we went and got a slice of pizza and didn't wait at the back door like I would have. But
yeah.
But a cranky husband is not a whole lot of fun.
Wanting to eat. Got you.
Mm-hmm. So
got you.
We did that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I meant from the Facebook group. Did you meet somebody from?
Oh, well, so yes and no. So I've known Devin. So one of our members took a photo of us. Saw her at the merch line, and she's like, cool. Let's get a picture. And so then she shared it in the group.
She's in the group and somebody you know in real life. So you had like all the permissions to share.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How fun. I love
it's really fun. She actually was a Naptown roller girl as well. So she and I, we go back beyond and farther than that.
Okay.
But yes, she was after I was on the team, she came along. So we never skated together, but it's pretty cool that she was also a Naptown roller
Very
girl.
Cool. That is cool. We should circle back around. Who died this week? Did you like my long vocal pause? Here we are.
Probably need to cut that shit out because
it'll
annoy somebody, I think.
This week, though, this was a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't get to talk about her.
Yeah, Dame Maggie Smith, which I feel like if we don't talk about her, then we are doing a big disservice to all things theatrical in the world, because she was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Shakespeare in particular will be mad.
Yes, we do not piss off the bard. No, she is great, and there's whole generations of people who grew up with her, just knowing her as, Harry Potter, and but she goes way back from that, like way beyond that, with some pretty cool stuff. Like I think my first memory of her was in A Room with a View.
Okay.
The E.M. Forrester book turned into a movie with Helena Bonham Carter and Julian Sands. Rest his soul.
Who also died.
Yeah, a while back,
but
ago. Yeah,
really tragically.
Fantastic.
Dame Maggie Smith, total hottie.
Young Dame. Oh yeah, baby.
Gorge. Yeah.
She
just brilliant. Not that you have to be a hottie, but she was, and we should give props. I love that she was in, I just saw it, where'd it go? Sister Act. I have no memory of that.
I don't either.
But okay, I think that's great.
I'm guessing she was a nun in Sister Act. Like, probably.
I mean, that would make sense. And so many of my favorite movies, you already said, A Room with a View. I did also love Gosford Park. Of course, Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
The series. We just have to separate out the content of the films from some of the more controversial current things.
Oh, for sure.
With the author.
She was in Hook. She played like elderly Wendy.
Yes.
So cute.
And in The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Of course, in Downton Abbey.
Of course
in Downton Abbey. And then there was something else. Oh, totally 80s. She was in Clash of the Titans. She was Hera.
Okay.
Is that true? It should be on there. I'm going to give it a look. When we talk about 80s.
Hera. No, not Hera. Not Hera.
Athena?
No.
Let's keep guessing because we don't have the internet.
Starts with the T.
I love this part. This is my favorite part.
She was Calibus's mom.
Thetis.
I knew it.
The goddess Thetis. I just found it.
And she was Calibus's mom
Yep.
because she gave him the ring with the 2 pearls, and then he turned into the bad guy, the demon thingy, and stole Cassiopeia, and then stole Andromeda, and then and then Perseus had to steal Andromeda back, and then slayed Calibus, which pissed off his mom, and then she called on Poseidon to release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken!
Release the Kraken!
That's kind of what happens when we do this podcast.
The Kraken's been released.
We're releasing the Kraken.
That's the God's honest
There
truth.
we go. That's the long, winding way to 1980s movies for Dame Maggie Smith.
She'll be missed.
You look like you had another thought about that.
I did, but we can,
I understand. Okay, we're going to pause. There's so much happening on your face.
My brain hurts.
I'm with you. I'm here in this. You know what else we're doing today?
What
which
else
is
are we doing
exciting.
today?
We're just going to put an end to that section. It's done. That segment's done. We realized, I think 2 episodes ago, that we have left out a very important segment of this podcast. Perhaps its namesake.
It's only called Gen X Women Are Sick of This Shit.
And early on,
We have a freaking sign.
Before we did our after school specials this summer, which was to ease the summer, we had a section that's called What Shit Are We Sick of Today? And we
forgot about it.
So we're just going to blame menopause, ADHD, brain fog.
I think that's
whatever.
right. I think that's right.
But we're bringing it back.
It's back, baby.
Right now.
It's back, baby.
What shit are we sick of today,
So
Megan?
both of us, when we sat down today, we had stories of shitty drivers.
Yes.
And so we're going to bitch about that for a hot second.
My gods.
I
Multiples.
think COVID broke driver's ed. I think people forgot how to drive, and it's not come back, and it is fucking awful out there.
As you said that, I imagine like a thread between every brain and like learning to drive in their teenage years.
It's just broken.
And something happened. It just like snapped, and all of the rules are gone, and the awareness that there are other people on the road.
Nobody gives a shit. Everybody drives like a fucking lunatic.
Today, I never get tailgated. It's not a thing that I have to experience very often. I see it happening to other people, but this guy rode my ass all one lane, can't go anywhere. Car in front of me.
in front of you. Of course.
There is no place to go.
Of course.
If I am 10 to 15 feet closer, that just increases my odds of a potential accident should a duck cross the road or something like that.
Right. Or a squirrel this time of year. Squirrels.
Gesticulating. He was doing this.
Like
should have had his hands on the wheel, but he was just shaking his fist.
Both of his hands up in the air like that.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
What an asshole.
Yelling. And I was just like, I gave him the double middle fingers. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Like,
I guess I can just say that. What the fuck are you doing, dude?
No shit.
And he just kept yelling. What was yours?
This was on the way over here, on the way to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
A girl behind me, all up in my shit. She was lane jamming like the whole way down, in and out of lanes, right up on my butt. And I stopped at a stoplight because you're supposed to.
Those are optional. The red ones are totally optional.
Totally optional. But this car came over in front of me, and they went through the light, and I was like, well, okay, I'll stop.
Yep.
And she was right up on my butt, and same kind of thing. Hands off the wheel, losing her goddamn mind.
Doing this.
Pointing at the stoplight, shouting. And I was like, it's red. What the fuck am I?
I love that you were
red.
Like presenting.
I was like,
information.
The light is red. And she just kept going. And so I made eye contact with her in my rearview mirror, and she was just losing her mind. And I just went, blah, 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 blah. Which I think is a very Gen X thing to do. I could have flipped her off, but it was like, you know what? Blah, 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 blah. Instead.
She's yammering on.
Yeah.
So people have lost their minds. Tim was pulling a bunch of stuff up, but I don't know what it was.
It was probably about...
I thought it was like statistics, I don't know. My insurance agent actually did tell me that accidents are up. Like statistically, people are driving worse now because it's shown in the industry.
Interstates are crazy town. Like people drive... And okay. to be fair, I have a fast car.
I understand.
I drive my car fast because
Yes.
fast cars go fast.
I understand. Not like slow cars.
I don't
Which go slow.
Slow cars go slow. Fast cars go fast. I am I'm a great driver though, and I anticipate what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I slow down when traffic warrants being slower.
Yes.
And I am trying very hard not to be a nuisance on the interstate.
Of course. You're
But
being a reasonable fast driver.
People have just lost their minds. Like 160-mile-an-hour people on the interstate.
Goodness.
Because I know what I'm doing.
Ah!
And then I know how fast they passed me. It's crazy.
I bet other people feel the same way. I bet other
I'm
people
sure.
are sick of this driving shit too.
Yeah, for sure.
There
It
you
makes
go.
me want to take public transportation.
I know. We're working on it. It's starting to get better. By the time we're 80, we'll be able to take the bus places.
I'm very envious. I
All
think of
over
places
Indy.
like, New York and I mean other places that have amazing subway systems.
Yeah.
DC,
Yes.
my gosh, like to never have to drive would be pretty amazing.
Be great. What are we talking about today, Megan Bennett? We're here to do a
We are.
podcast on a topic that will be relevant and or nostalgic for women and others of our generation.
We are going to talk about game shows today. Ding, 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 ding.
Bum, 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 ba-na-na, bum, bum, bum. That's just generic game show music.
It's generic game show
Doing
music.
a dance. We're going to talk about the game shows of our youth.
Yeah. So 70s, 80s, a little bit of the 90s.
Little into 90s. Things went weird in the 90s.
Things went real weird in the 90s.
And maybe
for game
some
shows.
like going back in the Wayback Machine to the first game show. We were having
Yes.
a chat earlier.
Yes.
And then maybe we'll just theorize about what constitutes a game show today. Besides driving on the
No
highway.
shit. And you get to
We
live
make
if you
it.
win.
Yeah, lucky people.
If you win, you live.
We were doing a little research for this show, and you found
Oh, the first game show. The first game show came out in the 1930s. It was in 1938,
mm-hmm.
and it was called Spelling Bee. And it was a spelling bee. Like,
and adults.
I mean,
would
they
go on it.
weren't particularly creative. It was called Spelling Bee.
Let's just do that. That's super cool.
But that was the first game show, which is cool. I don't know that there's any video of that.
Probably not.
Not.
But you did find a cool video
I
earlier
did. I
that we were
found-
watching together. That was amazing.
Yeah, like it. Hang on, let me.
Where the wife of one of our previous presidents.
So on YouTube, you can find an October 18th, 1953 episode of a game show called What's My Line, which had Steve Allen on it. It had lots of important people from back in the 50s. And the secret guest was Eleanor Roosevelt.
That is so
And I
cool.
I'm flipping through YouTube and I'm like, holy shit, that's Eleanor Roosevelt. How is that a thing? Anyway,
there she is.
she was on a game show. So,
Patiently waiting.
yep.
It was great. That was
So
it was fun
fun.
to watch. And the way they add the questions, there's so much linguistic banter, snark,
Yes.
just wordplay
Yes,
and
yes.
how they were answering things. It was interesting.
They
It was
just
super fun to
clearly have a
watch.
lot of fun just talking on
Yeah.
these shows, which is great. And then of course they have to stop and advertise the razors and things like that are the
Yes.
big sponsors,
Right.
because they wouldn't have broken up into TV commercials the
Of
way that we do now.
course.
So you had a
Oh,
sponsor of a
right.
show.
Sure.
So Remington Razors was the sponsor
show
for this
sponsor.
one. It's really fun.
That was awesome. I loved that.
It's real. I think just taking a quick look on YouTube at old game show, and it looks like Colonel Sanders was a secret guest on What's My Line. Raymond Burr, Buddy Hackett, Carol Burnett.
I'm sure my grandmother would have loved it. I mean, I'm
I'm
sure she
sure
watched,
she watched
it and
it,
loved
yeah.
it.
Grace Kelly was there on it too. So fun. Anyway, so that was those back in the pre-dawn of civilization days of
75 years ago.
Yeah. When TV was young.
Good golly. And we were not even born yet. We were even younger.
We weren't even thought of back then, but my grandmother would watch this for sure.
Mm-hmm. So what do you remember about game shows growing up? earliest memories, formative experiences.
Earliest memories. I mean, I can tell you what game shows to me were the things that you watched when you were homesick and you were laying on the sofa and, you know, your mom and dad may not have even stayed home. You know, you're kind of on your own.
Yep.
And you were entertaining yourself, at least in my situation, I was entertaining myself with The Price is Right.
Yes.
And the Andy Griffith Show. Oh, and reruns of the Lucille Ball. Like, I Love Lucy stuff.
I loved watching that.
Yeah, but the Price is Right was a big thing.
Was that the only daytime one? Surely not.
No, I'm sure not. But it was the one that I remember watching for sure.
I remember that one too. Price is Right. And the other ones that I remember watching in the evening, and this is a bit of a time jump, Wheel of Fortune.
Yep.
Of course, that's not a massive time jump. But then Jeopardy.
Yes.
Which is an older show.
Yes.
But what I remember is the more contemporary Alex Trebek.
Right, because Alex Trebek was not the first host.
I remember those two.
He was the best
Oh,
host.
I know. Family Feud.
Oh, Family Feud. Oh, God, Richard Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
There's some problems there, isn't there? You want to talk about that, Lucy? Lucy. You want to talk about that, Lesley?
Well, what was it? Recently, I'd watched more than one thing. All of this comes out of like the Me Too movement, that we're recognizing behaviors that maybe were a little bit gross, more than a little bit gross, sexist, misogynistic. And there was a
generally icky
story that I read that he kissed every woman, all of the women's, and everyone who went on the show had to get a herpes test.
Yes.
Is that true?
I think that's true.
Because
he was kissing them on the
mouth,
not on the cheek, but on the freaking lips.
And they like sort of expected, like that was just part of the show.
I don't know. I've never saw anybody like kind of turn away or anything. Like everybody was like, "Oh, smooch me, Richard Dawson."
I know some of the women really were, but it was like a bit. It was just very normalized in the show.
Very, yes.
So I would never have thought anything weird of it. I assume that is not a current part of the show.
I don't think Steve Harvey goes mowing on anybody. I'm not sure, but
we're a little more respectful. But it was pretty, it was quite misogynistic. It objectified women. Who knows what else happened? Kissing the female contestants earned him the nickname the Kissing Bandit. Television executives repeatedly tried to get him to stop the kissing. After receiving criticism for the practice, which also included a great deal of physical contact, such as holding hands and touching, Dawson asked viewers to write in and vote on the matter. Ew.
200,000 responses, though.
They favored the kissing. What he said. Do you want to read that part? In 1985 on the finale?
1985 finale, Dawson explained that he kissed female contestants for love and luck, something his mother did with Dawson himself as a child.
Okay.
Ew, grody.
I guess. So that was, obviously it was known for that. And so there we go.
Richard Dawson. So, and I loved him. Like, I don't know that... Again, the kissing thing, we never... That
did not even cross my mind.
No, we were kids.
Adults are doing things that they're supposed to do. Why would I question that?
Right. Kids doing weird shit. Like, I would never have thought that was odd. I did love him on Match Game.
Oh, okay.
Because he was a frequent on Match Game. And Match Game like 74, Match Game 75, Match Game 76. Which, by the way, has the best theme song. But he was on there all the time. And I just... hilarious, like him, Charles Nelson Riley, Brett Summers. I mean, just like Betty White was on there a lot. Like the best panel of people, and they would always bring in like one or two like extra people that were not regulars. Paul Lynde was on there a lot, hilarious. And then, gosh, I'm thinking like. Jamie Farr was an extra guest occasionally. Anyway, but Richard Dawson was on there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, would never have thought anything about it.
How did he, was he an actor? Like, why was he? Does that make sense? He was an actor?
Why?
Yeah, he was
Why?
in Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, he was.
Okay. I mean, was that it?
I mean, that's the acting role I knew of before
He
he
was just
showed up.
charming on Hogan's Heroes. There we go. Megan's on Hogan's Heroes right now. I do
Hogan's
remember
Heroes.
that show.
Yeah,
So-
he was, and he was hilarious. He was hilarious. But then he took his game show shit one step too far.
Oh, what happened?
He was in The Running Man. Do you remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I
I'm sure
do.
producer Tim remembers he's nodding. He remembers The Running Man. He played a game show host.
Oh.
And like Arnold Schwarzenegger had to it was basically
Got
you would die. They took criminals and they
Oh, yes. Yeah. I remember this.
so he played
He was
himself
the game show host.
basically, and
So if we'd had the Hunger Games then.
that's exactly what it
Perhaps.
was similar. Yeah, very very similar to that. Yes.
So game shows of the 70s. Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing all these out there. We talked about those.
Let's Make a Deal.
Oh,
Did we talk about that? Was an 80s thing, I think, mostly.
Let's Make a Deal.
And that was when everybody dressed up in their little Bo Peep costumes and whatever. And
where the
had to-
costumes to get noticed?
yes, I'm sure. And you had to have shit in your purse or whatever to, win extra prizes or whatever. They'd pull people up and you
I'm like, wait, no, tell me
and
more
they had
about
things
this.
behind the you remember this. They had things
Kinda.
behind the curtain and you could choose curtain 1, 2, or 3. And then if you chose whatever curtain you chose, they'd open it up and you could
Mhm.
keep that one, or you could try to get something better and get, curtain number 2, curtain number 3, or whatever.
Okay. Playing.
And then on one of those curtains, they had some sort of here's a duck or whatever whatever the
ducks are a theme today.
Oh, there are. You mentioned
I
ducks
love
already.
that.
Hmm.
And you had duck on a stick at the beginning.
Duck on a stick.
I
Ducks.
remember certain things, just not all the important things. But I do remember about duck on a stick. I don't want to jump over Price is Right because that show went on for 47
Wow.
seasons. And
And was it always until it was Drew Carey? It was always
Bob Barker?
Bob Barker,
I
right?
think so.
Did he start it? I feel like he did,
We're going
but
to find out. Nope. Yep. You're going to tell
Nope.
me
Yep.
things.
Nope.
There we go.
but we should remember. I mean,
Mm.
Bob Barker was, and that show had some issues too.
Oh,
I mean, they had the women
Barker's Beauties.
Barker's beauties,
Yes.
who were always kind of showcased in a way.
But that was in my I'm not a butt. And that was, I'm not saying this to justify that thing, but it's sort of on my list of jobs I might want when I grow up.
Oh, you wanted to be a
Barker's Beauties, a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader.
Oh,
These were sort of
you wanted to wear
aspirational.
short skirts.
There were women on television. I was a child, so I don't think I was thinking so much about the clothes, but
Right.
it was probably the beginnings of oh, I could be an actor.
Yeah,
Right. But these
course.
were things that women did. And I was like, well, that looks cool. You get to sit in a car or give away pasta,
You just have to hold it up and
holding things like
showcase
this.
it beautifully.
And it probably is of course, for many of us, the origins of what we believed women were supposed to look like.
It does look like Bob Barker was the original host.
Very beginning. That's
Yep.
cool.
The host forever until when?
Well, when
Until
he
when was he
retired
done?
and Drew Carey took over.
Okay.
The 53rd season is set to premiere. Well, it did premiere on September 23rd, 2024.
Oh,
Dang,
wow.
53 years.
We
Yeah.
just missed it.
I was like the guys, was it Johnny? Who was the voice that always
Mhm.
introduced people?
I cannot remember the guy's name.
Anyway.
Johnny, that sounds
Johnny.
reasonable. Why not?
Yeah.
We'll say that that's true.
But yeah, I think that show, The Price is Right, when you think of game shows, at least from our childhood,
Yes.
that's kind of the one that immediately comes to mind.
Absolutely.
Could you be referring to John Leonard Olson?
Johnny Olson. That's right. Yes, I was.
other game shows of
He
the
would tell you to
70s.
come on down.
Come on down. Whenever I go to get someone to come in for a meeting with me, when I go out, I'm like, come on down. And that is exactly what plays in the back of my head. To the Price is Right.
When people started dressing up in that show too, like to
Oh,
get
they did?
noticed with the t-shirts that would say
okay.
like whatever. I feel like a friend of my husband's was on that show. Now I'll have to ask him. But somebody I know somehow was on
Price
is Right. And I did have a friend, one of my college friends was actually on Jeopardy.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think she came in second and won a wardrobe or something.
I had a college friend on Jeopardy too.
That's very cool.
Notice neither one of us were on Jeopardy though.
That's
okay.
Yeah, I would be terrible.
I guess it was hard to do that show. You had to be like just a repository of facts.
Yes, and you had to be quick. That was the other thing. Like to be able to pull the facts out of your brain.
Mm-mm.
Not
deer in headlights.
Not me.
That would be me.
Yeah, I felt like in the late 80s, early 90s, there was this trifecta of if you were going to get on a game show, it was either Jeopardy, The Price is Right, or Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Those were the like three biggies. If you could get on one of those, it's like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
That should be the big 3 t-shirt that we make. I don't know why, just because. Wheel of Fortune used to have it's College Week.
Oh, they did.
That?
Yep, they
My
sure
grandmother
did.
always wanted me to watch College Week because I think that she imagined that since I went to college, sometime I might be able to get on the show.
I always felt, and this is not true, but I always felt like you had like the Jeopardy people who were super smart, right? They had all the facts that they could pull right out of their brains.
Yes.
And then you had the Wheel of Fortune people, and they were like, just guessing a puzzle.
Crosswords. They were crossword puzzle people.
Yeah.
Because that's how you would do it.
But you could make so much more money on Wheel of Fortune than you ever could on Jeopardy.
Oh.
Like just like one shot on Wheel of Fortune, you could make tons of money.
That's so funny. So then on Price is Right, you just needed pure enthusiasm and good guessing skills.
And the ability to spin that wheel and get, closest to $1.
That's true. The most stress-inducing thing ever is watching that wheel go around trying to get to $1. And you're like, without going over.
Right. I feel like somebody in the group mentioned that they were on The Price is Right and they had a pee-pee accident and didn't want to spin the wheel anymore.
Oh, no.
I need to have a look at that.
I'm sure
but
it's
then,
like a...
got 40 and they were like, I'm going to stay at 40 and just thinking like, I got to get out of here. And then I think everybody else busted and they were in the end part of the showcase
showdown where you could get a car and the multiple trips.
Yes.
A trip to Hong Kong.
And a living room,
Hawaii.
furniture. And
yeah.
I kind of remember seeing one that the final prizes were something in the neighborhood of like well over $100,000. Like it was a big motor home and a car and a trip and I was just like, holy shit, that is a hell of a prize.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I bet you had to pay taxes on all that shit, didn't you?
You think so?
Surely you do. Yeah, you do. Absolutely you do. If you win prizes, you have to report it on your tax return. This is where my brain goes. It's like, if you win $100,000, that could really have big tax implications.
That would be huge. Like, and if you couldn't afford that, what do? You just sell your mobile home?
I guess, probably.
That's what a lot of them did. They sold whatever
they
prize
just sold
they
the
won
things
because
to
they
get
couldn't
the money.
afford it.
Wow.
Well, then you just have the cash and then you pay the taxes and because I know on the car, we're just going down a random little rabbit hole there. But on the cars, you would have to pay the sales. I don't know. Anyway,
I presume
this is a Gen expert, definitely not an expert.
There was I think it was a Netflix show all about The Price is Right, which focused on a guy who was trying desperately to get on the show for years.
Wow.
And would show up for every taping and try to get on. I guess he got on one time, but he was trying.
That was a mission.
Every recording was showing up.
Wow.
Yeah. It's on Netflix somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Unless it's gone now.
Persistence.
But no shit.
And determination and commitment.
And having way too much time on your hands. because
Also
maybe
true.
maybe he didn't have a job.
Also
I don't
true.
know, but
other shows. We should talk about other shows from the 70s.
20 or what was the pyramid win?
$100,000.
$100,000 pyramid.
Yes. That was question. No. What was that game show? Were they answering questions or guessing?
They were guessing. I think they were giving a clue, and then you had to guess what the word was.
Okay.
And then if you went all the way up the pyramid to
That's
the
right.
tippy top or whatever, or you could pick whatever.
That came out in 1973. Went 23 seasons. There was Card Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
1978. That was only on 4 seasons. Joker's Wild.
Joker's Wild was big.
1972 to 1991. And you said they're going to do like a reboot?
Yeah,
Is that
I think,
what you just read?
Snoop Dogg is going to be the
on the Joker's
host for
Wild,
Joker's Wild,
which sounds totally accurate. Is
It'd be a lot of
exactly
fun.
what should be happening there. And we found a couple of game shows that were Canadian. One of them being the Newlywed Game, which actually came out in 1966. It stopped airing in 1974. And the game that we originally found was a game called Definition. And I did not remember that. And then that's when I started to dig deeper. It came out in 1974. And that was also from Canada.
Interesting.
So our Canadian Gen X sisters.
Yeah, you've got your
Have
games
been
too.
included.
Well, and they have Alex Trebek. Let's be honest, he was Canadian. So
True story.
it's kind of cool. So the Newlywed Game, I only vaguely remember seeing it on TV, but I know that whenever we go on vacation on a cruise,
Mm-hmm.
inevitably the cruise staff does their version of the Newlywed Game, and they get couples to come and participate, and then you can win, like, here's your carnival t-shirt or whatever it is. But
okay.
yeah, but I know that it's played a lot that way.
Because it was supposed to be, you were supposed to know all this stuff about your partner. And so the implication is that if you can't answer these questions,
Right, something's wrong with you.
then
Your
fucking off
relationship
somewhere.
is just
You're doomed.
you're
divorced.
never gonna make
right
it.
after this. If you
Mhm.
lose, you automatically are divorced.
And then before, I guess, you get into the Newlywed Game, you could play the dating game.
You could play the
I
dating
guess
game.
just to find your newlywed person.
Well, that goes, I don't know, maybe we're going to jump a little bit because we were talking about the dating game and the Newlywed Game and how those shows are sort of the antecedents, the precursors to like 90 Day Fiance.
Oh yes,
And the like Love Island, like
right, and like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Yes.
I presume at some level the
all
same.
of the dating shows
Right.
that are more dramas now, but they are game shows.
Is there one where like you don't get to see them, like blind? Was it Blind Date? Something like that, where
Yes,
you
that
don't even
makes
get
sense.
to see that person.
I believe in that. I think that sounds true.
Yes, blind date is the thing.
And you just like
I'm very, I don't know.
you talk about not being able to do a good job on not Trivial Pursuit, but Jeopardy. You would be fine.
I don't think so, because I could only get half of something out. Like,
Was
was there a show?
there a show about
I
this?
feel like maybe I'm making that up.
And we discovered a Trivial Pursuit show, but it was very short lived. That would be a really hard one.
That
I mean,
would
it
be
pretty
really
much
hard,
already
yeah.
existed. It was Jeopardy, but they
Right.
were playing.
Well, and
Trivial
that, I
Pursuit.
mean, my gosh, was it late 80s and 90s? You
Mhm.
had Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yes. Okay.
That was
So good transition.
Bonker crazy hard too.
into 80s games, which many of these, like games from the 70s, hung on. I mean,
Mhm.
Wheel of Fortune,
Mhm.
Price is Right,
Mm-hmm.
Jeopardy, all of those continued forward. But there were other ones like American Gladiator.
Oh, hell yeah.
A whole new era. Now, that was late 80s. It came out in 89, which in context, that makes more sense because game shows got really weird in the 90s, which I didn't watch a ton of TV then, but they got really weird.
What's the one where you do the big obstacle course? Why don't I know this? See, I'm terrible. I can only give you half of something.
The contemporary one? with the
Yeah,
big
like
obstacle
there's
course?
a big.
That's the one. It's Ninja Warrior.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Which I feel like is not a spin-off, but I feel like it's the next variation of like
Absolutely.
American Gladiators.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So do you think American Gladiators came out of wrestling? like WWF?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like it.
There's a whole documentary about it on Netflix.
About American Gladiators?
Oh, yeah. It's unauthorized.
Oh,
But, yeah.
Well,
you
it
know,
should
that's
be.
good.
Yeah. So they went around to the gladiators and interviewed them.
Uh-huh.
And basically, it sounds like they were trying to come up with a show, obviously. And it wasn't so much like a wrestling thing as it was they were trying to come up with an extreme, like everything in the 90s was like extreme and this and like, oh, in your face. So that's kind of the approach these producers took. So their casting process was a lot like professional wrestling in that they went to look for these like muscle
beefy people.
Got you.
But then once you get into it, you start to figure out all of these athletes were getting hurt all the time, and the shooting schedule did not allow for rest
sure, for
and
injuries.
recoup and all of that.
They had quite a few. They're if you look them up on Google, they're characters. So, which I think is interesting. But it kind of goes back to that whole Running Man thing because you had like Nitro and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, you also had on American Gladiators, you had Turbo, Thunder, Laser, Sunny, Gemini, Ice. My God! Wait, there's Tower,
awesome.
Titan, Diamond. Diamond was and Siren and Gold.
Look at their outfits.
Oh,
they all look like they're in the 1980s Flash Gordon.
I think they just must have
70s.
kept at Lace. I remember her. They just had to keep adding people and adjectives apparently.
Well, sure, because if you would get hurt, they're like, see ya. Hope they made money.
They didn't.
Oh,
that's
that's
too bad.
sad. None of them made money.
Now they're making I'm sure they're on the PopCon circuit.
Oh, hopefully.
You know.
Or they went on to have good coaching careers. You know, they were like personal trainers and stuff.
I
That's
think
what I
American
hope.
Gladiators came back for a hot second too. I want to say like later in the 90s they had another like American Gladiators 2
Reboot.
The reboot.
Wow. They're very tan. My goodness.
They're very oily.
Nothing like the old Love Connection.
Very oilied up.
That was a pretty random segment. Just transitioning.
Love
us.
Connection was nothing like American Gladiators.
Love Connection was nothing like American Gladiator.
I mean, except maybe you could beat each other with giant Q-tips or something.
They
I
might
don't
have
know.
had tans. Some of those people might have had
Sure.
tans. There
those
was a
outfits.
game from the 80s that you loved called Password.
Yeah, Password was cool. I remember like just throwing back to the 70s again. Do you remember the game show The Liars Club?
No. I remember you talking about it, but I don't remember the show.
So Liars Club was cool, and I want to say like celebrities, 70s celebrities were on the panel.
Okay.
And you could bring something on to the show, and if you stumped the celebrities about what that thing was, then you won.
Oh.
So, if you were like a farmer and you had a tractor gadget, some hunk of something that you pulled off your tractor, and you brought it on the show, and then each one of the celebrities would hold it and look at it and make their best guess as to what this thing was.
Okay.
And it was great. Like, and they basically could lie their way, like, this is what this is and this is what this does. And if the whole rest of the panel agreed with them, then, I guess you lost. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but
so fun.
really fun. And that's one that I always thought I would love to see something like that come back.
That would, but do you think it'd get ruined because of the internet?
Probably.
But they couldn't use their phones when they had the show.
No. They'd have to put their phones down. They couldn't.
Phone.
You couldn't Google
No
something.
phones when filming.
Right.
Sorry, friends. You can't do that. You're not allowed.
That's cheating.
So, you said Liars Club was 1976 to 1978. It was only 2 years.
Just 2 years. That's wild.
Oh, what a great show.
But that clearly was like, I don't know, me watching a lot of TV in those years, I'm sure.
we talked about Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares was fun too. That was Paul Lynn. That was back in the day. You had Paul Lynn.
Okay. So
And in case you don't know who Paul Lynn is, if you go back in your Wayback Machine to Bewitched, the TV show Bewitched, he played Uncle Albert, who was the
oh my goodness. Okay, yes.
yeah, the very gay, very fabulous Uncle Albert,
That's wonderful.
warlock of
Yes.
fame.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that totally. I was just gonna nod politely, like I knew what you were talking about. The
No,
whole
Pauline
show.
is
I was like,
amazing.
yeah, I know
He
exactly
was
what
one of my
you're talking
faves, and he was always on these game shows, like in the 70s for
about. That's
sure.
awesome. I love that.
A staple.
This was a good show.
What's up?
Whose line is it anyway? That was the transition between 1980
Whose
that
line
went
is it anyway?
into the 2000s. It was, can't remember the guy's name.
Like, help me remember the premise.
Originally, it was a British.
Yes.
I think British.
We talked about, yes.
But it's an improv thing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's
Yep.
the one that would have had Wayne Brady.
Mm-hmm.
The more recent one.
You can cut out that giant pause.
Would have had.
You know, where I'm sitting there trying
Wayne
very hard to
Brady.
make my brain work.
I mean,
Oh, here he is.
the American version had Drew Carey originally hosting
That's
it.
right.
That's who
That's
I thought it
right.
was.
Drew Carey,
And
Wayne
then
Brady.
there were other ones that hosted, and the host,
Colin something was another guy.
yeah, the improvers were like, it was like three, like Wayne Brady and two other guys who were always there,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and then like there was a fourth one that would change.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got you.
But yeah,
Yeah, that was fun. I'm not sure. Would you call that a game show?
Yeah, because they got didn't they win prizes? I mean, it's on the list.
one of the famous
On the internet.
One of the famous lines. It's like, what is it? Welcome to Whose Line, where the points don't matter and something. Because it's like whoever the host is, just like basically there's no impartiality to it. He just like his whim.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I think you win.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was categorized as a game show. We'll put it that way. In that one. Oh, here it is. Blind Date. That was the 90s. It came out in 1999.
Dang.
Was there another one before
I
that?
don't,
There had
I don't
to be.
know. I think there's something new too that is similar to that you can get on Netflix or Prime or something like that, where you go into a room and the person is on the other side of a wall and you're supposed to like chit chat with each other and fall madly
Sounds
in
like
love
the beginning
or
of
something.
a porn.
A little bit. Like there's a hole in the wall.
There's a hole in the wall. It's very dark. You just have to feel your way through the room.
We call that a glory
And
hole.
then you may or may not go on a date afterwards. We're just not quite sure. So what is it about game shows then? Because game shows would have been... Let me draw out my pen for you.
Of course.
We talked about soap operas. So
Yeah.
arguably soap operas, game shows, mega daytime television.
Well, game shows are cheap.
Oh,
So
say more.
Well, from a creation and production standard, they are very easy to put together. They're very cheap. They fill in, big holes in schedules, so you don't have to have a huge budget to do them. So like during COVID, during an actor strike,
Yes.
so like the last actor strike, we had all of these game shows kind of pop up out of nowhere because you can't pay your writers, right? If you're on a writing strike,
Got you.
you don't have writers, so you've got to do something.
Yep.
So here's a game show.
That makes sense because
And
you're
that's
just
probably why you
using
gotta-
people from your studio audience or people are auditioning and it's just
Exactly.
average human being.
Exactly.
Not somebody
It's-
who's a part of a union.
Right.
They're not SAG-AFTRA members.
Yep. Exactly. So
Okay.
you get what you get, and here's a fun new wacky game show.
Like the ones that were for kids. Fun new wacky. With the way you said that
The
made me think of
wacky-
Nickelodeon
wacky-
for some reason.
yeah. Double Dare and those type of
Yes.
things. Yeah.
Is that the one where you got slimed?
Well, you got slimed on
Nickelodeon all
a
the
lot.
time.
You
It
can't do
wasn't
that on,
just because you were on a game show.
Yeah, you can't do
Okay.
that on television. Was the show that
Oh,
always
got
had
you.
slime, but I mean, you might have gotten slimed on Double Dare. I don't know.
I feel like we were just like a tiny bit ahead of like cable. So some of these channels and shows, like we were just not quite
You
like
didn't
I
have it.
knew that it was happening, but watching them was not a huge deal. There's the Double Dare logo. Yes, I totally remember that. That was just too... Oh, there was an original, though.
Clearly there was
The
slime
one that
involved,
came
though,
out.
because... see, there's slime on the...
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. There
I
was
do...
some slime
Now I'm
there.
remembering this big time, because kids had to run through and do this kind of
Yes.
obstacle course thing that always ended in them being super messy.
A total... Ew. It would have been so sticky.
Yeah,
I
but
don't like
fun.
that.
I mean, as a kid,
Really
to be
good.
able to run through that, that'd be
Yes.
a blast.
Yes. So then do you think these kids were voluntary kind of contestants? Like, are we talking child labor here? Do we violate law?
No,
Did they get paid?
No. I don't know about
'Cause
that.
you're winning
I think they won a
prizes.
prize. Yeah, like you'd win a Nintendo 64.
They wouldn't
or
get
something
paid
like
in
that.
stuffed animals, though, would they?
No, nobody's that lucky.
As they should have been paid in stuffed animals. So why do we like them, do you think? Why do we watch them?
Well, for the prizes, probably for the idea that you could, you could see yourself in somebody else's shoes. I mean, I know we watch Jeopardy every night. Like, well, because TV, the way the TV is now, everything's recorded and you can watch old episodes or whatever. So, like, my husband and I, when we cook dinner, we'll sit and watch Jeopardy every single night.
Because you're always putting yourself in, like,
Yeah,
I
well, we
know
just
all these
test
answering
ourselves
the
just
questions.
to see. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
almost like it's our way of doing Sudoku every night. You know, you're like, I got to keep my brain fresh, so I'll watch Jeopardy.
So what do you think it is about watching people compete with one another? That, like, is this sort of
I
our
don't
modern
know.
gladiator? Like, I would almost argue that, like, football and sports are a part of this too, but this is like a softer, gentler, modern gladiator arena kind of thing.
You want somebody that you can cheer for.
Yeah.
You know, you want somebody that you can associate yourself with and be like, oh, yeah, I see myself in this person. Or this person's really nice and fun and I want them to win. Yeah, I don't know. And, like, I will say, I think that I would watch some of these shows for the prizes just to see where somebody was, if they were going to get a really cool trip.
Yes.
You know, where are they going?
It's just like,
and also,
did you see?
It's in Barbados. Let me look that particular place up and see what it costs to go to Barbados.
Maybe I could go there.
Yeah.
So there is this contemporarily, like, there are game shows and then there are just, like, contest or competition shows, which are a little bit different. Like,
which
Great
is like
British
your
Bake Off.
Yes, and your bachelor or bachelorette kind of
Okay.
stuff. Well, Bake Off, you don't win money. You win the
It's
joy
like
of
the
being
accolades.
right.
And it's sort of like Chopped, you know, those, like,
Iron Chef,
competitive
those types
chef
of things. Yep.
shows are... That's a whole other anxiety-provoking kind of universe that you can be in and be entertained.
And it's
by.
cool because it's something that's very focused on a very specific thing.
Mhm.
You know, like if you like to cook, you're going to watch
Mhm.
Iron Chef because it's
True.
cool. And you're going to see what they make.
Mhm.
And you want to see, like, this is not the same show, but like Gordon Ramsay loses shit. You know, you want
Right.
you want to see all that.
The expected things that are going to happen every time
Hell's
you do
Kitchen, you know, when everybody loses their shit.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think but you're right, there's two different types. There's the Jeopardy and the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type of shows. And then you have the bachelor type of shows where the contestants are, it's longer form, like you're with somebody for a very long time and
It's sort of scripted-y-ish.
kind of, yeah,
There's influence
edited,
there. There's production influence.
edited very heavily for, you know, shock
and then
value.
there were the other segment of, like, game shows that are the celebrity-led shows, right?
Yeah.
Where it was the celebrities were the draw for watching, and then there would be, like, one or two contestants. So you were actually paying
that's like
actors.
Match Game where you have this panel full of
Hollywood
the who's
squares.
right, and then you have two, you know, regular chumps who are just trying to win, you know, $10,000 or whatever.
Give me $50.
Right,
I would do it for $50.
and I need all of your autographs,
please. Yes. To go in the Smithsonian later on.
Right.
We're going to keep it.
Right.
Put it in
Yoink.
the Smithsonian. There we go.
So fun.
I wish we had, I bet there are people in the group who have done game shows.
Oh, I would love to hear about that. Just like the
It would be fun to
experiences.
have the 5 minutes
I'll
of
post in
famous
there and ask
stories.
and see like who was on a game show.
We should do an ask.
Do
on
you, Lesley, do you have a favorite? Like if you had to pick one game show that would be like your all-time fave
that.
ever.
I think probably most of my game show observing experience was as a child, and just like nostalgically, I think it's The Price is Right.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
just
I could
remember
see that.
like spinning the wheel, the giant prize packages at the end, spay and neuter your pets. The fact that people would, when they would just get called up out of the audience and like lose their minds with joy to
Mhm.
like run up there and be able to like bet or like basically guess on the price of whatever the first thing was.
That was always the best, I think, because, well, and my grandmother, it was so funny. My grandmother loved Price is Right. And I remember her kind of being a little bit bitchy about the prizes and the prices. So like, because the price for, I don't know, cottage cheese or whatever in California where they were shooting The Price is Right was different than the price in Indianapolis. Like it was much cheaper here than it would have been in California.
Yes.
And so she would get frustrated because it's like, that doesn't cost that. That's bullshit. You know, that kind of thing.
It's not that expensive.
That's not that expensive.
A box of spaghetti doesn't cost $5.
Right. You've got to round up for California.
It's 98 cents.
You've got to round up for California. So funny.
All right, so that's kind of what I think of. What about you?
I mean, I loved Price is Right. I liked all the silly games, you know, like the yodeling
Plinko.
guy, the Plinko, the
The
yodel dude
yodeling
that fell
guy.
off the mountain.
Yes.
Yeah, so many good.
I can hear that in my head. There's that.
Yeah.
It makes me want to know more of them now, but it's fine. We don't need to go down that
I think
wormhole of memory.
I always liked. Well, my husband always liked the one with the whammies.
Oh,
Pressure
no
Luck.
whammies. There you go.
Pressure Luck. He liked the original Pressure Luck. And the new one is really fun. We've watched
Is
that a
it?
couple times. I think it's Elizabeth Banks who's the host of that. It's cute. It's
How
really cute.
funny.
And they still have the little whammy dudes that come out.
Okay.
and
I think game shows will exist forever. I just don't see that
that
that's
one
ever
stresses
gonna
me
go
out
away.
though.
The whammies one.
Yeah,
Pressure Luck.
because people get like
So
just a shit ton
close.
of money and then they get the dumb whammy and it's gone. And I'm like, no.
Well, what's the one with the suitcases? And you're like guessing. That's a huge one.
Shit. What is that?
It's also like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Is that it?
No. What is? It's like
It's the
that's
one
the
where you phone a friend. This is great.
well,
Menopause
no,
Minute.
so that one is that's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with the phone of
Oh,
friend.
okay. I'm putting two things together. There is a game show where you're like calling out the numbers of suitcases. My favorite part of doing things like this is knowing that someone at some point will listen and go, it's this. And they're like yelling it, deal or no deal. Thank you, my mercy. That's what I needed.
Deal or no
And
deal.
now you,
By the way,
dear
if you-
listener, and I are also relieved.
If you Google suitcase game show,
Mhm.
what you get is a 2010 game show called Baggage. Contestants on this dating game show don't want to hear the elimination line, I'm sorry, but you have too much baggage.
I was like, please tell me it's that. Do you walk out with like all of your exes?
Maybe. And like
And-
all of your hidden flaws exposed
Like,
to the world.
The pets that you
My
had to give up or that
baggage.
you lost and all of the breakups that you have ever had in your whole life.
God, that's terrible.
That is terrible. Hopefully it didn't last long.
I-
I'm sure it wasn't fun to participate.
2 years, 2010 to 2012.
In and out.
Oh, and it starred Jerry Springer. So you knew it was a
Wow. Okay. Well, that all makes sense
good
now.
one. Wow. Yeah.
Yes, I understand this.
Baggage.
So game shows.
Yeah, good times.
They were
Were
a
you
lot of
a-
fun.
Were you when home at night or in the
This is my favorite sentence so far today.
Let
Keep
me-
going.
Let me start this over.
Let me see where we're headed here.
Gonna start this over. So when you were sick at home, did you watch your
Yes.
TV shows, your game
Uh-huh.
shows?
I mean, yes. I think it would have been
It was probably the
ones
Price
that we
is
talked
Right.
about. It was
Yeah.
Price is Right. I don't remember. We already had this conversation, and we're gonna have it twice now. I was like, I don't remember other daytime game shows, and then we went through a whole list, and that's how we ended up at Family Feud. My Lanta ADHD is a whole situation. There we go. Even with notes sitting right next to me, I've still lost that one.
Best week.
You know what I think we should do?
What's up?
We perhaps should bring in our listening audience with some 5 minutes of fame.
Yes, let's do
It's
that.
like a game show, but it's not.
In that we just want you to tell us stories.
And
about
you're always going to win.
You always
If
win.
we get your story, we will find a time to include it.
Absolutely, we will.
Should we read first or listen first?
Well, let me read one, and
Yes.
then we'll listen to one, and then you can read the other one.
I think that sounds like a great plan.
All right, so we have
phenomenal.
Phenom. So we have 3 5 minutes of fame stories. The first one is from a member of our group.
Mm-hmm.
Gen X women are sick of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from a member called, her name is LaDonna Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And LaDonna says that my friend and I were invited backstage at a Billy Idol concert in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we got back there, he was already headed to his bus parked underground, so we had to beg and plead the roadie to let us meet him. He took us to the parking area. As we entered, we saw Billy hobbling. He was on crutches. It was after his cycle accident. He was flanked by 2 tall, beautiful blondes.
Mm-hmm.
Match.
Mm-hmm.
The roadie called out to him. They turned around and Billy said, "Come on!" And we followed them into the bus. They were
amazing.
They were several yards ahead of us, so they were on the bus by the time we got to it. And we stood the open door like dorks until he called out to us, "You got to come meet me or what?" We went on the bus, and the girls were fussing over his leg with ice packs.
Mm-hmm.
He signed our backstage passes, let us kiss him on the cheek. Not Richard Dawson style. And he told us to grab a drumstick out of the bucket on the way out. We floated on air all the long way back to our car and talked about it for months. I was 24 and I still have the autograph and drumstick.
That's
so good.
pretty great.
Yeah.
Are you going to come meet me?
Are you going to come meet me
what?
or what? I
Nope.
love that. It's like, come on, girls. I saw you the whole way. Let's go. I got nothing to do but get my leg iced by these 2 chicks.
By my 2 tall, hot blonde. I assume they're tall. They could have been short blondes.
I doubt it. I suspect they were tall, beautiful blondes.
Well done.
Very fun. So
Thanks
thank
for
you,
sending
LaDonna.
them.
That is an amazingly good story. We appreciate you sharing that with us.
It's great. Now we're going to hear one. We had a call.
We did.
Hello, my name is Mara. This is my 5 minutes of fame with Bill Murray. It was about,
So good.
it was the mid-90s. I was heading to Chicago with an AIDS educational play that people were flying us out to Chicago to perform there. So we were at the San Jose airport, and Bill Murray was there filming a movie about a elephant, and there was an elephant who was there in the airport with an elephant. The director of our play
There
talked
he is.
to his people, or talked to the film folks, and said, "Hey, I have some young actors here who would love to meet Mr. Murray. Can we make that happen?" And they sure did. I have it on video and a picture of him talking to our group. I had a bag, a big tubular bag with the stand for the video camera was in my bag, and Bill Murray made a joke that it was a loaf of sourdough bread in my bag. So that's my 5 minutes of fame with Bill Murray.
Oh my God.
I'd love to send you guys a picture or even the video if you'd like.
Yes.
Thanks. Have a good day.
We need
the picture.
We want
totally.
that.
So
We're
I had to
gonna
look it
add
up. I had to look up what movie, because
Yes, what
originally
was
we
it?
were like, maybe it was Operation Dumbo Drop.
Oh yeah, we were guessing.
It was not.
What was it?
It's a movie called Larger Than Life,
Oh.
and it came out in 1996. It was him, Matthew McConaughey, and Janine Garofalo were in it.
Oh my goodness.
So quite
That's a
the
classic
cool
90s cast.
I know, right?
I love Janine
All right.
Garofalo.
All right.
Very good.
Cool. You have one more?
I have one that was sent in via email. This is on our Tell Us a Story.
Yes.
On the podcast website, Gen X Women Are Sick, Gen X Women Pod. That's our website.
Yes.
And Danny Jean S. wrote in and said, 5 minutes of fame. I was an extra in the movie The Women. It's the restaurant scene, and the extras had to be in the basement while waiting for the scene they needed us for. And we couldn't talk because they could hear us upstairs. Man, that must have been rough.
I bet that was hard.
Deborah Messing was down to earth enough to use the bathroom we were using, so I got to see her. After the movie came out, I went to a freelance gig directing some newscasts, and the anchor said, "Were you in a movie?" I said, "Yeah, but how did you see me?" I knew what to look for, and I almost missed myself. We had worked together previously for a decade. He said, "I know your smile. By the way, my wife was in that movie too. She played Annette Benning's legs in the opening scene. So I was in the movie with a colleague's wife and didn't even know it."
That is awesome.
So Danny Jean was an extra in The Women along with a colleague's wife who was Annette Benning's legs.
Annette Benning's legs. And Deborah Messing. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
I always thought like Deborah Messing was like the next Lucille Ball.
Really?
Yeah. Just in my mind, like, I don't know why.
Because
like the Will and Grace show was, it was
I loved
very
that show. It was great.
funny. And she was so quick and felt Lucille Ball-like.
Yep, she's really funny. So those were our 3.
Those are really
5 minutes of
good.
fame stories for this episode
Those are really, really good.
of Gen X Women Are Sick of This Shit. But we're not sick of game shows. We still like them.
I do like them.
and
I
we're
think they're
glad that
fun.
we had them when
Yes.
we were
And
tiny
if we have another
toddlers.
writer's strike, we'll have a whole new batch
Oh
of
my
them.
gosh, I'll be so curious about the game shows of the future. We didn't even really get into like international game shows. Perhaps we will talk about those in the future. Unless there's something on your mind.
I will just say, I had to travel for work a number of years ago and was in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Switzerland, in the northern part of Switzerland. And the way that the Swiss world works, Switzerland doesn't have a written language.
I love Swiss world.
Swiss world.
Okay.
So there's no written Swiss language.
Okay.
So if you're in the northern part of Switzerland, everyone speaks German. Like
Okay.
high German. If you're in the western part, everybody speaks French and German and a little bit of Italian. If you're in the southern part of Switzerland, it's Italian, a little bit of French, a little bit of Austrian.
Okay.
And on the east side, it's Austrian, German, and Italian. So when I went out to dinner with everybody just spoke English because it was just easier.
Okay.
But in my hotel room, when I was in the northern part of Switzerland, I got German TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hanging out in my room at night, turned on TV
Mm-hmm.
and got German game shows.
Yes, you did.
Holy shitballs.
What
They
was
are,
happening?
I don't know because it was all in German. So I'm not entirely sure. But it was fucking funny and weird. And I loved it. It was great.
Were they like physical competitions, or were they? Were they answering questions?
No,
or
it was
it like
much more physical. Much more physical. I wish I knew what it was called. I couldn't
Wow.
even begin to tell you what it was called.
You know what? The podcast is huge in Switzerland. Somebody's gonna leave a comment.
I think it's huge in Sweden. I don't think
Oh.
we're that big in Switzerland, but I know. I don't know. If we are, that's great. Somebody can tell me all. And if we've got people listening in Germany, please tell me what the heck that show was.
Yes,
I need to
they'll go,
know.
You probably learned about this. That would be awesome.
So funny.
You have been listening to Gen X Women Are Sick of This Shit. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Leslie.
What do people do if they want to find us?
Well, we have a website that people can find us on, and that is genxwomenpod.com. We also have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram account as well. Mm-hmm. We have a YouTube account where we put YouTube shorts and other little tidbits up there. We have a TikTok account.
I don't talk the tick or tick the talk.
You don't tick the talk?
I do not.
I barely talk the tick, but I did put a TikTok up.
We're explaining the internet to people again.
It's
That's okay, though.
It's great.
We need to know how the internet works. Can people buy merch?
They absolutely can. We have a merch store on the website itself, and we also have an Etsy store too. So they're just pretty easy to find. It's just Gen X Women on Etsy.
And if you are listening to this podcast, presumably you found it somewhere. And while you're there, give us a review.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think.
Throw some stars at us.
That'd be great. We'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Ooh, 5.
Maybe 10.
And also make sure that you are hitting subscribe so that you're notified whenever a new episode drops.
Most important.
We also have a 5 minutes of fame that I think we should tell people about too.
Hell yes. We want to know your stories, your 5 minutes of fame stories. You can send those stories in on the website, or you can call 1-888-GEN-X-POD and leave your story for us, and we will play it live in our next episode. Or 2 or 3.
We'll listen to it on a little red phone just like Batman.
That'd be cool. Let's get a bat phone.
A bat phone.
I think that's it.
I think you're right.